Hello, students. Welcome to my classroom and welcome to Contemporary Philippine Arts from the region. I do hope you are all ready for our discussion for this day or for this lesson. So, let's start. Last week, I gave you an assignment which was all about the Philippine arts, and I do hope everyone was able to submit their works online. So if you haven't submitted your assignment yet, do not forget to submit it within the day. Now to proceed. So the first question that you answered in your assignment was, what is Philippine arts? Right? So, unsa man gyud ng Philippine arts? So, mayong kag Philippine arts, these arts refers to the works of arts that have developed and accumulated in the Philippines, of course, from the beginning of civilization in the country up to the present era. So anything na nahitabo here in the Philippines, pagsugod palang daan until the present is included or is part of Philippine arts. Now, let's talk about the history of Philippine arts. Kanus amang gid nagsugod ang Philippine arts. So the first one was ethnic art, of course, followed by Islamic art, the Spanish era, the American era, the Japanese era, the modern era, and lastly is the contemporary era. Last meeting, we were able to identify the difference between a modern and contemporary arts. So, as what we had discussed, it was all about the period of time. Now, these are categorized into three: the pre colonial, the colonial, and the post colonial era. So, under the pre colonial, you have the two periods of arts, the ethnic and the Islamic. And of course, colonial meaning under pata sa colony ani. And we had the Spanish era, American, and of course the Japanese era. And after the colonial or the post-colonial, you have also the modern era and the post-modern and contemporary era. Okay, so now let's talk about pre-colonial era or the pre-colonial arts. Examples of these are the pottery and ritual arts from our ethnic groups and sari manok design in the Islamic regions of in the Philippines. So before pa man mga bot ang atong mga kuan ang mga Kastila who colonized our country, na naman tayong mga arts that exist during those times. And again, those are the ethnic and Islamic eras or periods. So ang mga example ana ang katong mga pottery kanang ilahang mga gamit sa una no nga na ay mga ritual arts or mga tatak sa kana gani silang ritual naama na siya sa ilang mga caves and all. So those are examples of ethnic and Islamic eras arts. I mean. So to show more, so mao ni siya. So if you can observe, so this picture here shows for the ethnic groups and the sari manok. Now let's talk about the colonial era or the colonial arts. So for the colonial arts, these are the arts developed during the colonization of Spanish, of American, and Japanese people. So during the Spanish colonization, its focus is on the religion or the spread of Christianity in the Philippines. And of course, during the American regime, most of the artworks are all about innovations in the field of arts. And at this point, Filipino artists start to look for identity. So the American actually brought in education and values formation. Okay, so that's what happened during the American regime. And lastly, for the colonial period, you've got the Japanese occupation. So at this point, Filipinos showcased their expertise in the field of arts, in literature, specifically in writing, haiku, and danaka. So that is just an example of an art developed during the Japanese regime. So lastly is the post-colonial arts. So these are already the times when we are released from the Japanese, I mean from the Spaniards, and then of course American and the Japanese. After we were set free, so there comes the post-colonial arts, and we are still in the post-colonial arts today, of course. So this started when Filipino artists embraced the world of modern art in 1946 until 1970. So in the Philippines, transition from modern art to contemporary art lasted for 10 years, called the Philippine post-modern art. So the art produced in the Philippines during 1980s up to this time are all products of Philippine contemporary arts. So these are already considered the contemporary arts. It is through art that we can communicate to the world our inner feelings and our creativity that only exist within our mind. Do you agree with that? Di ba? Um, as what we had discussed before, art is one way or a medium also to express our deepest desire, our innermost feelings, and of course to bring out the creative I'm sorry, the creativity that you have in your mind. It's all about realizing what's in your mind or making your dream come true. That's already an art. Now, any form of art is a form of power. Would you agree with that? 'Di ba? So tanang forma sa art is also a form of power. So now, how can we understand the different art forms that can be found here in the Philippines? So, unsaon na to pag sabot? So, there are a lot of types of arts classifications, but let's focus to these three. Ato siyang i-subcategorize as well. So, when you say visual arts, lain-lain man ta. Okay? When you say arts man ko, di ba, these are applied in different fields. Makita nato na siya tanan, and lain-lain gud siya o klase. You can say that mag-drawing ka, sa passion, sa dancing, sa music. So these are still arts, right? So now let's give a name to these art. Ato sila nganlan para mas makasabot ta. So i-categorize na to siya into three. You've got the visual arts, and also you have the applied arts or the allied arts, and lastly is the performing arts. Under the visual arts, it's so clear from the term itself. Visual siya, so makita na to. So drawing, painting, sculpture, calligraphy, photography are just examples of visual arts, di ba? And how about the arts that are applied in different field? So when you say architecture, so these are arts nga gigamit sa mga architects or sa when building homes. So naagi na siya applied din ng arts ana in fashion, in pottery, in jewelry design, and of course interior designing. And a lot of fields pa, and different fields pa nga applyan na tog art. So those arts are what you call the applied arts. And lastly also, another category of art is the performing arts, where the artist is the one who performs the art. So example, dancing or dance, music, theater arts, film productions or movie creations, and of course, lastly is the literature creation. So literature, diha na magawas ang mga poem, ang mga storybook, storytelling, mga stories, mga novels, diha nga inyong pambasahan, o kana siya. Okay? So those are examples also of performing arts. So let's focus more on what is visual arts. Para gid atong masabdan, unsa man gyud ang visual arts? So, from the term again, visual arts can be defined as a form of art that uses any medium to represent the artist's idea, emotion, and imagination. So, unsa may specific identity of a visual art, and of course, the purpose of visual arts. Unsa may kuan purpose to. So, of course, 'di ba, para makagawas ang anything that you have imagined, ang imong imagine sa imong huna-huna diha, imong gi-drawing, imong gibutang sa papel. So that is already a visual art example. So art forms under visual arts. So, atong nahisgutan kaniha, mo ni ang mga different forms of visual arts. You've got drawing. So, ako, angkon ko, no, I'm not really good at drawing. Kung yung kung pa-drawingon ko, makadraw man, pero ayaw mo expect nga that's really mind-blowing output kay murag mo blow na lang ang inyong eye siguro hinigtanaw sa inyo ha sa ako ang mabuhat. But anyway, when you say drawing, it is a representation of any form of object by hand through the medium of pencil, pen, charcoal, and a lot more. So magdepende naman na sa artist nato ko. Sa artist or sa tao mismo kung unsa nga medium ang iyahang gamiton. And wow, this is an example. Actually, no, this is in the ethnic era pa ni siya. So, it's considered as one of the first drawing in the country. So, petroglyphs of Angono. So, this is an example of drawing. So, tanawa rin ko na ilahang drawing, guys. Oh, sa man siya. Ano sa inyong makita diya sa drawing na butike? O, sa man siya, no? But, this is the oldest drawing in the country. So, oh, kung sa ang ilahang kuris-kuris sa una wa na grabe ka importante na karon, and that's how we value art as well. Now the second one is painting. So magpaint ta mamintal o mamintal daw, but it is the process of art of using paint in a picture as protective coating or as a decoration. So lahi sa ang ato ang gamit ani nga mga materials or medium, 'di ba? Oh, it's not bag-o man siguro nato. So there are also a lot of forms of painting. Daghan sad kayo na siya. So you have the easel painting, mural painting. So mural painting ay kana bitaw sa mga walls no sa school if you observe sa kanang mga sa tawag ato sa gates ba to? Sa gates no kanang ganing sa kural sa ato ang school nagpainting dito. That's actually what you call mural painting. And of course, you also have the talon painting and of course, collage painting. So, lain-lain lang siya kang klase nga painting. So, example is this one, a very popular painting painted by Juan Luna, which is the Spoliarium. So, muna siya ang pinakasikat. And this painting right now cost billions naman siguro or millions, but it's really, really mahal. Okay, now, another painting or example is the it's also a very popular one, which is created or painted by Fernando Amorsolo, which is the making of the Philippine flag. And the Tiangge by Vicente Manansala. So now let's proceed to another form of art or visual art. I'm sorry, visual art. So sculpture. So 'di ba makita mo og mga mga singa na statue, 'di ba? So it can be defined as a three-dimensional art form that uses materials like clay, stone, or wood for its execution. So mo mga example, and one of the most popular of um, sculpture is really the bulol, or it's also called as the tinagtago. So it's actually found in Luzon. So the Mater Dolorosa by Mariano Madrinian is also an example of sculpture. And actually sa atong mga simbahan, kanang mga angels or kanang tanang mga statues diha nga inyo makitaan are of course product of art na siya, or it's a form of art na. The Oblation by Guillermo Tolentino. Another example is the Sandugo by Napoleon Abueva. So, Sandugo, di ba? This is the time when katubitong nagkuhan sila sa ilahang blood. No, nagkuhan sila sa ilang blood and they drank it to show brotherhood ba to ni? I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think muna akong nahuna-hunaan sa Sandugo. Now, another form of visual art is the calligraphy. In the calligraphy, so it's the art of writing letters in a manner that it looks visually appealing. Oh, nadyo mga maayo kayong musulat no nga as in nindot siya kayo sila og agi nga murag gyud og kanang um murag gyud og ilahang murag gipa-print ba or kanang nice yung kayo pagkasulat. No? So, mapod na siya sa calligraphy. So, example is the alibata or also known as the baybayin. And another example is or applications na sa alibata is the alibata, I'm sorry. Calligraphy is of course ang ato ang mga wedding invitations. No? So, another is the wedding invitations by Mika Samar. Another form of visual art is the photography. So, photography, picture-picture, no? So, it's the art of producing an image of an object on a photographic film. So, i-picture na to, i-print, niya, muna ibutang nato sa tong album. O, kung nag-album pa mo diha. Pero karong panahon na, ang Facebook naghihimong album. Now, example of photography, the most popular, which is the execution by firing squad of Dr. Jose Rizal, which was captured by Manuel Arias Rodriguez. Okay? So, why do we take a picture of something? Di ba? Hilig kitang mamicture. Nga nung mamicture man yun ta? Because we wanna preserve that memory or unsa may rason kaya nato why do we take a picture of someone of something of a place o inana di ba so nagyud tay tagsa ka rason nganong mamicture ta. So another picture is the Palma Hall at UP Diliman. Another example is the Cebu Fish Sanctuary by John K. Chua. So right now we will be having an activity that is related to this which is about visual arts, no? And we will have collage painting. Okay, so for this activity or for this week, we will focus on collage painting. So when you say collage painting, it is a form of painting that involves combined images in a single artwork. So this is done by cutting and pasting materials such as paper, fabric, thin foil, and other flat materials in a board or canvas. So you can make use of vellum board para sa inyuhang canvas for this para mas kuanta para mas parihat tatanan. And again guys, please do not throw away your artworks. Ang inyuhang outputs ani kay we will be using that and I will be collecting that later on if di na inani ang atong situation if we will be back into a classroom setting scenario. So please do not throw away your output once again. So going back to our activity, again, your work is to create a collage. Um, you don't have to print, please. I am also discouraging you to print, diba? Do not print. Be creative. You can use papers, mga Manila papers, or anything that is in your house mga mga tela nga bisag unsang kolor ug unsa pa na diha as long as wa na gamita you can make use of them or any flat material nga pwede natong mapapilit sa ato ang vellum board as our canvas. So in your collage painting, you can choose whatever design you wish to have. Any design inyong buhaton. You can uh, pwede mo siguro maka-research online so that you will have an idea kung unsay inyong gusto but do not copy the originality. Of course, you can make your own. Imo lang siyang imong guide, no? So, again, you have to use short size vellum board as your base with 1-inch margin in all sides. All right? So, let me show you examples of collage painting as your guide. Again, kung unsay buhaton ninyo sa inyong activity. Here, oh, so di ba? In the first picture, you can observe this is actually a butterfly. Muna ihang gibuhat and ang ihang part sa butterfly kay mura og newsprint, newspapers. Okay, so a bird also. So example ni siya sa collage painting. All right. So how will you be graded? So the following will be the rubric for your activity. It's 100 point activity. So your design is 25 points, your process is 25 points, being resourceful or resourcefulness is also 25 points, and lastly is the totality or the overall look of your artwork is also 25 points. Okay, so this is your activity for the week. You don't have to record yourself doing the activity. If you want, that is also fine, but you don't have to submit it to me. All I need is your artwork. All right. So, submission of your files or of your activity is via Google Classroom. I will be creating a link, or I will be creating stream work or an assignment for this so that you can upload and submit your files to me. Any questions? If you don't have any questions, I mean, if you've got some questions, please do not hesitate to give me a message through my Facebook Messenger account. Okay? So, another important announcement. I will be posting links in our Google Classroom that will help you learn and understand Philippine art. So, be updated with anything that I'm posting in your classroom. So, if you have time, you can browse your classroom even if it's not during my period or during my scheduled time. So questions and concerns again, if you do have questions and any concerns, do not hesitate to give me a private message. So thank you so much for listening. I do hope na mo nakatunan on the different forms of arts, the different forms of visual arts, and also with the different period or the development of Philippine arts in I mean over time. Lain siya kay the development of Philippine arts in the Philippines, no, murag di man tumao. So, anyway, thank you so much for listening and have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.